A couple of weeks ago, Columbia Pictures started an event called Spider Mondays where they re-released every single live-action Spider-Man movie in theaters to celebrate Columbia Pictures' 100th anniversary. So now that all 8 Spider-Man movies have been released, and I've also done reviews of all of them, if you want to check them out on my channel, I am going to give you my ranking of all 8 live-action Spider-Man movies. Hello everybody, my name is Jesse and welcome to my channel. Today I'm giving you my thoughts and my ranking on all 8 live-action Spider-Man movies. I am not including any of the Sony Spider-Man universe movies like the Venom movies in here, and I'm not including the animated movies. This is only the live-action, the 3 Raimi trilogy, the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and Tom Holland's MCU trilogy. I've also done reviews of all 8 of these movies on my channel, so if you want to check those out, I'll probably leave some links in the description, and let's hop right into it. Also, beware of hot takes, because there's definitely going to be a few in here. A lot of you are going to disagree with my list, and if that is the case, I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart, I don't give a Starting at number 10, I have Spider-Man No Way Home. Before all of you start yelling at me, I also want to say I do not hate any of these movies. I don't even dislike any of these movies by any means. They're all at least a 4 out of 5 for me. I absolutely love every Spider-Man movie, but one of them's got to be last. Far From Home for me has just never been a Spider-Man movie that I really feel the urge to go back and rewatch. And it's just never been one of my favorites. There's a lot of things that I love about it, specifically Mysterio. Jake Gyllenhaal crushes it as Mysterio. He's an amazing villain. All of his illusions, the visual effects and CGI look incredible. And there's just, there is a lot of fun to be had with this movie. It's just not one that I ever go back and rewatch, and maybe the fact that Tom Holland is my least favorite Spider-Man has a little bit to do with that, and I've never been crazy about his side characters. So I like this movie, but it is definitely last for me. In 9th place, I have The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Again, I love this movie, and I love it a lot more than most people do. I have always found this to be the most overhated and most underrated Spider-Man movie. Even with all of its flaws, there's a lot of storylines in here that I don't think quite work, and it can be quite messy at times. But even with all of its flaws, I love this movie. It's got some of the best romance and the best chemistry with the 2 leads in any Spider-Man movie. Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are the definitive Spider-Man couple in my opinion. Andrew Garfield is my favorite Spider-Man. Emma Stone is my favorite love interest that we've ever gotten in a live-action Spider-Man movie. So though I do recognize it does have a lot of flaws and a lot of messy things to it, I just can't help but love this movie because Andrew Garfield is just so charismatic as the character. You can tell he has a blast playing this role. In 8th place, I have Spider-Man Homecoming. Again, maybe Tom Holland is my least favorite Spider-Man. I really like the high school vibes that this movie gives off, because Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is supposed to be a high schooler. He's supposed to be a young kid. So I think Tom Holland fits the role of a high schooler the best out of the 3 live-action actors, 100%. Vulture is an amazing villain. Michael Keaton owns that role. Just like with Far From Home, there's a lot of fun to be had with this movie. The suit is really cool, and I do like seeing Iron Man in here. Quick side note, while I was filming this, I realized that I completely miscounted. I thought that there was 10 movies and there's only 8. So The past two segments, I've been saying the wrong number. That's my bad. But from here on out, it'll be fine. Back to the ranking. In fifth place, I have Spider-Man 3. This, again, is a very overhated and very underrated Spider-Man movie, in my opinion. I grew up watching the Sam Raimi trilogy, Tobey Maguire, and those movies were a huge part of my childhood. That's what made me love Spider-Man as a kid. And this movie, I will just, despite its flaws, despite its somewhat messy plot at some times, I will never not love this film. I love Peter's growth as a character in this movie, how the Venom symbiote takes him over, and the hatred, the kind of hate that he already has inside of him from wanting to find Uncle Ben's killer comes out, and he takes it out on people that he loves, and he regrets it later on, and he just has a very great arc from the beginning of this movie to the end. He learns his lessons, and he starts to make amends with the people that he hurt. The villains I've always enjoyed in this movie. Thomas Hayden Church, I think, does a fantastic job as Sandman, and by the end you even start to really care about his character, and just the fact that he didn't mean to hurt Peter. He just was in a bad time, kind of, and it was a complete, we learned by the end of the movie, it was all a complete accident. I think the score for this movie, especially Sandman's theme, is incredible, and that the scene where Flint Marko becomes Sandman and he's in that like contraption, I don't know what you would call it, but he's in that like pit, and I just love that scene, how all the trails of grains of sand come together to form his body, and the way that they are able to show that, and the music over it all, and the cinematography, I think it all looks awesome, and is one of, if not my favorite scenes in the movie. I've never been a gigantic fan of Topher Grace as Eddie Brock and Venom. I think Topher Grace is a little bit of a weird pick to play the Eddie Brock character, and the way they handled Venom in this movie just wasn't the greatest. You can tell that Sam Raimi didn't love having Venom in this movie. It was forced on because of the studio and the producers, and so it feels very forced, and it is pretty forced. They have the symbiote in the entire time, of course, but the true Venom villain really only comes in like the last 30 minutes. So I don't think that part really ever fully worked with me. I also think Harry has a fantastic arc in this movie, going from still being mad at Peter at the very beginning to still thinking that he killed his father, to at the very end of the movie sacrificing himself to save Peter. They eventually made up and they became best friends again, and they were able to fight alongside each other to take down the bad guy at the end. In fourth place, I have The Amazing Spider-Man. Again, absolutely love this movie, and this is one I like. I think I begin to love it a little bit more, actually, every single time I watch it. And over the years, it's grown higher and higher up on my list. Andrew Garfield, like I said, with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, is totally charismatic in this role. You can tell he has the time of his life playing the character, and I mean, who wouldn't? It's Spider-Man. I mean, fans like me would kill to have a chance like this, to play this character that everybody loves so dearly. I think the way they did the origin story, they did. I get why they redid the origin story for it being like a reboot sort of the character, but the way they were able to do the origin, it still felt fresh and different. I think the way they handled Peter wanting to find out more about his parents worked in this movie. While it didn't totally work in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I think it does really work in this movie. There's a lot of kind of mystery and suspense with that plot line that I really enjoy. And again, this movie gives very cool, very good high school vibes. Emma Stone, like I said, is my favorite love interest that we've ever gotten in a live-action Spider-Man movie. The chemistry between her and Peter and Andrew Garfield is amazing. I think the music is really solid for this movie. The swinging and the suit is awesome. I think this suit, the Amazing Spider-Man 1 suit, is one of my favorite Spider-Man suits. And the reason for that is because just of my nostalgia for this movie. And the year that this came out for Christmas, I got the movie on Blu-ray and I got the suit. And so if you can imagine 7-year-old me just running around the house with the TASM 1 suit on, I mean, I would wear it as long as I could, from like the time I got home from school to the time I went to bed. If my parents allowed me and if my teachers allowed me, I probably would have worn it to school if I could have. So I just absolutely love this movie. These next 3 are what I consider the perfect Spider-Man movies. Total 5 out of 5s for me. I've always loved these, and their places have swapped a lot. And especially these next 2, I change their places a lot. I intertwine them a lot. In third place for me is Spider-Man 2, a perfect sequel to the first Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire continues to crush it as Spider-Man. The music for this movie is just as good, if not better, than the first movie. And Doc Ock, how could I not mention Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus, Doc Ock? And he is the absolute highlight of the movie for me, without a doubt. I love Dr. Octopus as a character and as a villain, and I love how they showcase his character, where he's not really a villain by his own means. He gets kind of corrupted by the machine in his back, because the machine goes wrong during its testing, during its showcasing, and the chip in his neck that's supposed to control the arms gets destroyed. So instead of him controlling them, they are controlling him. So he really becomes a villain due to them, not because of himself. He's not a bad person. He just becomes corrupted by his own machine. And so I love the way that they show that, and he's able to become good again, sort of, by the end of the movie, and especially in Spider-Man No Way Home, he becomes good again about halfway through the movie, and he's able to help Peter take down the other villains. This was a villain that, for me, was improved upon what was already perfect in Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie has some amazing scenes with Sam Raimi's direction is absolutely incredible. I love the scene where he first wakes up in the operating room and the claws attack all of the doctors and surgeons. I love all the swinging scenes in this movie, and the final fight between Peter and Doc Ock on the Watchtower and then the train is amazing. And you can tell how good the train scene is because they've referenced it and they've copied it so much throughout all of the Spider-Man movies. That's how iconic it's become. So Spider-Man 2, to me, is an absolutely perfect sequel to an already perfect start to this Spider-Man trilogy. And speaking of the start to this trilogy, in second place, I have the first Spider-Man. This movie was what got me into Spider-Man when I was a little kid. I can remember being 6, 7 years old, watching this countless times at my grandparents' house and at my house, and just I would watch this movie any chance I get. Actually, I don't think we owned it. I think the only time I could watch this movie was like at my grandparents' house, at my grandma's house. So every time I went over there, I would watch it like 2 or 3 times. I loved this movie, and I would most of the shirts I wore when I was a kid had Spider-Man on them, and I just had all sorts of Spider-Man memorabilia, and I would run around the house pretending to swing from furniture. I absolutely love this movie. Talking about the movie itself, I like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. Willem Dafoe, of course, is absolutely incredible as the Green Goblin. I think Green Goblin is probably my favorite live-action Spider-Man villain without a doubt. And I'm a huge sucker for origin stories, especially superhero origin stories, and this movie is a perfect origin for Peter Parker / Spider-Man. Of him, we see him just being a nerdy teenager and then getting his powers, getting used to his powers, and we see the progression of him and his character throughout the movie, and eventually learning to use those powers for good to take down the bad guy. I absolutely love this movie. I think it's an amazing start to this trilogy. But coming in number 1 for me, my favorite live-action Spider-Man movie is Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie perfectly just encapsulates and just bottles up everything that we love about the Spider-Man character. We get to see all 3 generations of Spider-Man on screen together. We get all of the villains from the previous movies together in one movie, and the Tom Holland's Peter Parker has a phenomenal arc in this movie. He gets broken in this movie, truly. I mean, the movie starts right where Far From Home left off, with Mysterio revealing his identity, and he has to find a way to fix that because not only his life but the lives of the people that he loves are kind of starting to crumble. I mean, his friends can't get into college because they know him, and he's being followed and targeted by the FBI. So he already starts off in a rough spot, and then by the halfway point, Green Goblin comes in and kills Aunt May, and Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe, does like as good, if not better, in this film than he did in the first Spider-Man movie, which I thought was hard to do, but he freaking did it. He proves that he is amazing as Green Goblin, and he truly breaks Peter in a way that no other villain ever has. And he needs the other 2 Spider-Men to come in and support him, tell him that everything's gonna be fine and he can get through this. It's so fun to see the 3 Spider-Men fighting together and working together to take down these villains and cure them and send them home. There's all sorts of jokes and fun conversations with the 3 Spider-Men, and like I said, it's just awesome to see all 5 of the previous villains come back in this movie. So overall, this movie just has everything that I love about Spider-Man and that I have loved about all of the previous Spider-Man movies. And I mean, it's hard to forget seeing this movie in theaters with, I mean, a good audience and cheering and clapping. The hype for this movie, I don't think will ever be topped with any other Spider-Man movie, and it went on to make $1.7 billion at the box office, the 7th highest grossing movie of all time. So that just goes to show how excited people were. And I remember when the first trailer dropped, like that, the views on the trailer skyrocketed. So there you go. That is my ranking of all 8 live-action Spider-Man movies. What is your ranking? Let me know down in the comments below. If you agree with my list, cool. I'm sure a lot of you didn't, but I don't really care. That's all I have for you right now. Until my next video like this one, subscribe to my channel. Check out my Spider-Man reviews on the channel. I did reviews of all these movies, so go check them out and keep watching movies and TV. Goodbye.